Good morning, afternoon, or evening, wherever you are, and welcome to another NerdTube review. I'm Majo Rage, and we are talking about Lower Deck Season 3, Episode 3 tonight. I'm joined by my fellow Trekkies. Zam, to my right, how are you this evening, sir?
I'm fine, thank you. Happy Star Trek Day, everyone. And God save by the Queen.
Below him, we have Cousin Cheeto. How are you tonight, sir?
Doing okay. Got my Swensons, got my milkshake. I'm good.
And below me is Commodore Boone. How are you, sir?
Oh, I'm doing pretty good. If I can hear you guys a lot better, but as you see, I'm still working. I'm on my truck. Doing pretty good though.
Well, thank you for joining us despite still being on the job. Um, so this week we had a pretty good episode. Kind of more self-referential than kind of the Easter eggs to other Trek shows and movies from the past, but an entertaining episode. We saw some character growth, and we still had some good jokes. What were your overall impressions, guys? I'll start with you, Zam.
Well, I like the way that with the cold opening, we started off with like this image turning this guy to stone. But then when we actually started the episode, all the hullabaloo that came from that had kind of ended. And we're going back to what the Cerritos is supposed to be, and that is second contact.
Mm-hmm.
So we already saw the ends of what would have happened, what happened regarding that guy turning to stone and a Starfleet crew resolving that issue. And then Cerritos comes in, does the second contact, and that's where we're continuing from, which is nice because they are second contact, and I'm glad we're sticking to their roots.
Yeah, and Captain Freeman's logs have been kind of very exposition heavy lately, and we'll see that again at the end of the episode. But it really helps move the story along and keep more of the focus on the action of our lower deckers.
Yeah, and
Got
just
Dan.
Daniel Vance, I'll get to your comments, all of them in a second. I'll just let Maze finish off asking his questions.
Cheeto, what were your overall thoughts about this week's episode?
The lower decker stuff was okay. I had some issues with some of the other stuff in the episode. But again, I think this goes back to just not like lower decks not being canon. I know, I feel like we can get into it when we get there. But yeah, I mean, it was an okay episode. I would say definitely a step down from the first and second episode that we had so far this season. But yeah.
All right, Commodore Boone, anything
Well,
to add?
it was a little funny, a little confusing, a little bit, especially about the rock creatures that kind of read your minds there and brings out the fantasies. I wish I had those rocks, but other than that, it was okay.
All right, thanks, guys. So we've got Daniel Vance's comment, Sam.
Yeah, he mentioned Picard season 3, February the 16th. Wow, that is still next year, even though we're in the latter half of this year now. But nevertheless, yeah, looking forward to that. We're going to be, keep an eye out on the tube. We will be reacting to some of the trailers that came out on Star Trek Day. Unfortunately, with the Queen passing today as well, things got conflicted regarding what we were able to offer to you regarding Star Trek Day, because the death of of my country's monarch kind of overshadowed things. But yeah, we are going to get to those trailers very shortly. Um, Clone Bulma in command of his own ship, the Wayfarer. Yeah, that actually went over my head, but I'm glad you mentioned that. Prodigy October 27th. Yes, I'm looking forward to that. I know one of our Star Trek guys, the one above me, he's not a fan of Prodigy, but then again, it's very hard to keep him happy. Khan SETI Alpha podcast series coming. I'm looking forward to that. There was one painfully corporate. This was one painfully corporate stream. I think you meant to say. I suffered so you don't have to. That's why we have. That's why we love you, Daniel Vance. You are the greatest fan of all time. And greetings and salutations. Let's rock and roll.
So yeah, we start off with the rock creatures that Commodore Moon mentioned, and they are turning Federation scientists into statues on the planet Genghis 4B. Captain Monarch's expository captain's log explains that, and that they're the Scrubble. The Cerritos and the Carlsbad are moving the outpost and removing the psychic minds that are tricking and luring the scientists like sirens, basically, and like a second contact mission, like Sam was saying. It's nice to see that.
I got vibes of like when you see those pirates films or those fantasy films where you got like the mermaids who serenade you, but they're actually deadly.
Jason and the Argonauts style.
Jason and the Argonauts. I think maybe the Pirates of the Caribbean did it as well. And they're deadly, and I think it kind of got like that, but yeah, it wasn't really like that, but yeah, it was pretty cool.
So Stevens is going to be in charge of this mission, and there's this really funny line that he throws out. He's like, "Yeah, me and Ransom have a sacred bond." And I don't know if you guys got a kick out of that as much as I did. No.
Yeah, I just want to say, sorry if I'm always adding stuff, but
no,
I'm glad we're getting Stevenson in these sort of doses, maybe once or twice a season. Because if he was on all the time, I think people would be fed up of him. So I think having him once or twice a season is good enough. And I like the way that actually Ransom doesn't like Stevens.
No, not at all.
But Stevens is such a fucking fanboy, and yeah, it's hilarious.
So we cut to Tindy heading to senior science officer training. She's supposed to meet her mentor for this, and she runs into Miglamo. And it turns out Dr. Miglamo is her mentor for this training, and she's not too thrilled, especially once he breaks out the bowl of well-seared grubs.
Seared, huh? They look like they're wiggling quite well for seared.
Exactly. It confused. I was like, huh? But he said they were well-seared. What? Maybe there's another meaning that I'm not aware of.
I just find it weird, like in Star Trek, that we have, creatures that look like an Earth-like animal, like cats, and now we have creatures that look like an Earth-like animal, like birds. It's like, it's like I've never been a fan of those species of aliens when they look like human. They look like creatures that come from our planet. You know what I mean? It's just, but yeah, I try not to let that bug me too much.
No, but I can get where you're coming from for sure about that. It's better to see like more alien-looking aliens.
Yeah.
Down on the planet, the crew from the Carlsbad, the ensigns from their ship that have been sent down to do the dismantling of the station, they've got a bad opinion of the Cerritos and its crew. It turns out they have a reputation in the fleet, at least among California-class ships. They say they're not here to screw around when, rebuking the, greetings from our lower deckers. So, we cut back to Tindy's training, and Miglamo is fumbling through it. He has no training or experience, and he's barely even skimmed the training manual.
He basically was telling her that, what's the point of studying and doing tests? It's more about on the field work. It's like, you are a scientist. It's like, but you have to put these things into practice when you're a Starfleet officer, which is what he was going on about, wasn't he?
Right. He said that the science officer, according to the manual, has to be the voice of science, and then he admonishes Tindy to kind of.
But okay, so. But here's my thing: is and this is one of the first issues that I had with this episode, was, I mean, like, if you're on an actual Starfleet starship, and this is why I fall back on the fact that it shouldn't be canon, what kind of mentor in Starfleet talks like that? Like, you shouldn't, like, you still have to know your shit. Like, you still have to know everything. And if Tindy wants to take a goddamn test, then Tindy can take a test, but tell her she still has to put in the work to go through this program. So, I mean, I can't fault, and if it was at the expense of a joke, I'd be more forgiving of it, but it's not. It's just like, we're doing this just to get Tindy in place that we need her to build her character. And I'm like, sometimes the show, like, it's starting to more lean towards character development.
Yes.
And I don't necessarily want that for this show. I really don't. Like, I'm really leaning hard into the Simpsons aspect of it, where it's like, keep it, but they made a great mention about all the shenanigans they get into, so it's like, lean on the shenanigans.
Yes.
Never let them learn their lesson, about what they're doing and why it's, what, and stuff like that. Like that, and as I said, I don't know, the
Do
whole
you think
thing
they
about
learned their lessons though? Do you think it's like, Mariner's still fucking doing her own thing?
the fact
Boimler
that
is still
they
being a bit weird.
the fact that they acknowledge that they haven't learned their lesson is the fact that they still have it, that they might learn their lesson, or they should learn their lesson. It's like, just make it the shenanigans. Like, everything that happened on the planet was actually pretty good. I liked it. I liked a lot of the stuff on the planet. It's a lot of the stuff that happened on the ship that I was kind of like, really? Like the diplomacy, if we can even call it that. I mean, two Starfleet captains fighting over a rock in front of scientist and diplomat. Like,
yeah, I thought that was a bit weird. I thought
that's
one
what
of
I'm
them would
saying.
have
Like,
taken
that's
the
why it's
higher
like,
ground.
if this is more of a Simpsons style, I can forgive it, because it's not canon. It's not like they're going for gags, and it's fine. Like, I can deal with that. But it's, and that makes the show good. But at the same time, it's kind of like, it's, I don't know, it just didn't fit for me. Like, I could see Mariner doing something like that. Like if Mariner was in the room, because but
But
anyway, go ahead,
Big
Nate. I didn't mean
Limos
to
should.
derail the whole thing.
No, it's okay. No, thank you guys for jumping
Okay.
in with your
I'm just going
thoughts.
to throw
I
in some
appreciate
comments
it.
here.
Okay.
Daniel Vance says USS Hood we see at the start was Riker LaForge's duty station before the Enterprise, and it's the same ship in TNG season 1 episode 1 that ferried McCoy to the ship. Okay. You see, I was saying Encyclopedia of Knowledge, Facebook user aka Dixie, says my cat Miles told me to tell you hello and show needs more Juicy. I will happily get you Juicy, but she is sleeping behind my curtain because I'm doing this late at night and I've got lights on everywhere. That's where they feel comfortable without being disturbed. So I'll let them at the cage so that they can find somewhere dark in the room and not be harassed.
Just going back to Daniel Vance's comment about the hood. Yeah, I did notice that, because it is definitely an old style Excelsior class, which was the USS Hood. I actually have the card from the customizable card game from Star Trek of the USS Hood.
I felt there was some Vulcan emotion project going on with the whole rock scene. Well, I did like the part where the Bird Doctor was saying, which he was basically going through the Starfleet manual and it was written by Vulcans or written by Spock, and he mentioned how some of this stuff was totally illogical as a pun towards Vulcans, which made me laugh very much. Cara Hughes, welcome back. Sorry I'm late. Had to spend an hour talking to my aunt because of the Queen's death. Don't ask. She never knew the woman, but she was weeping buckets. Yeah, well, I'm British, and I am more concerned.
Zam was weeping so hard. He flew all the way to America to weep on my shoulder, because he just was so broken up about it.
Oh man,
we Cara. I mean, without exposing our channel. Sorry. There, myself and Ginger Greek, we did do a video on the Queen, and you can see our opinions on that.
Mhm.
Unfortunately, I think a lot of people were expecting us to be, butt kissing and worshipping and honoring her when we made our video. But the moment they saw us, basically shitting on the monarchy, they fucking legged it. But anyway, enough of that. She's dead. King Charles is now in charge, and he's 73 years old. So we'll see how long he fucking lasts. All right.
I just want to say one thing in like kind of response to Cheeto's thing. Um, yeah, or all of y'all's comments. The senior staff jokes really fell flat this episode, and I think maybe the joke in the Miglamo scene, the only joke there is his incompetence, and it doesn't make for a funny character. I don't think. I
Who's
think
incompetence?
Dr. Miglamo, the one who was training Tindy allegedly,
Oh yeah. Was he
mentoring
incompetent?
her.
I think he was just maybe not naive. Uh,
They've kind of made a joke before of how he's kind of useless or doesn't really know what he's doing. I think
okay.
that's the character's shtick or
Oh.
gag.
Like
Sorry,
Sarah
that's a non
Palin.
sequitur.
Okay, but yeah, fair enough. I mean, it was hard for me to pick up on it. I mean, because he's such a yeah. There's a lot of cast members now who are real like once or twice a season type characters, so
Mhm.
they're easy to forget. Cara Hughes, yeah, I had a look, but it was on my Kindle, so I couldn't leave comments. Oh, thank you very much. Kindles are cool, by the way.
So, kind of, we cut to Rutherford, Boimler, and Mariner on the surface, and they're picking up the mind mines, the rocks, and they notice that the Carlsbad ensigns are just hauling ass on their task of dismantling the outpost, and once again, kind of thinking that it's making them look bad. Boimler pitches just hauling ass to try to one up them. He's been hanging out with Mariner too long, like kind of picking up on some of her things.
I was going to ask you one of the opposition crew members. Yeah, one that looked like a Wookiee. I don't know what alien species that is, but the other one had webbed hands. Did you notice that the black guy he had webbed hands?
I didn't
Please
catch
tell me.
that.
Oh, you're on mute, Cheeto. You're on mute. Cheeto's on mute. He's on mute.
He's lost his voice. Oh no.
Is he on mute? You're on mute.
Oh,
There we
sorry,
go.
my bad.
Yeah.
The tall guy or the hairy guy was a Tellarite. I'm pretty sure he had the snout and
Okay.
That's
everything
what
like
I
that.
thought too.
But he was too tall. He was really tall for a Tellarite. Like normally Tellarites are short and stubby. So I mean, like I'm not sure. I mean, maybe they were just trying to show, hey, Tellarites can also be tall and slim. Like Tellarites don't have to always be. But okay, like whatever. But he did look a lot like a Tellarite. The guy with webbed hands, I'm not sure. Wasn't there a race in TNG that had webbed hands?
I think so. Yeah.
Webbed hands just it does something to me in my brain. I don't know. I'm not a big fan of it. It freaks me out. Webbed hands for some reason. Sorry, quick comment here. I never thought that Tindy's mentor was incompetent, just uncaring. Yeah, I agree with you. Yeah, I forgot what film it was. That somebody had webbed hands and it was bothering them so much that they sliced it. They tried to slice off the webbing, and ever since then I've been like, with webbed hands. But anyway, Tellarites have primary and secondary genital, confirmed. Okay, fair enough. And you're on mute again.
Yeah, I
Cheeto,
know.
for
I'm
some
sorry.
reason.
They have a secondary or primary groin, dominant groin. I think is what they said. I noticed
he
that when
pulled
they
it.
said, "Oh, I pulled my dominant groin," I'm like,
Oh yeah.
"Well,
Good
you have
point.
a secondary groin?" Like, what? I'm like, "Oh, Tellarites, man, swinging hard."
This is the writers pulling the joke out because they've seen the love for jokes about the Klingon anatomy
Oh
on the
yeah.
Gromp.
Sorry, one Cara Hughes here as Zam, and to be honest, all the channels constantly showing her life really gets on my wick. Yes, she had a long reign. Yes, she made a small difference, but this is just overkill. Yeah, well, I'm really happy. I'm sorry, guys. I'm really happy that I'm taking a day off work tomorrow because driving around London tomorrow is going to be a fucking pain in the ass. It really is. Actually, for these next few days, because they're going to close off lots of streets. Then we're going to have the funeral of Queen Elizabeth II, and then we're going to have the fucking coronation of King Charles III. It's going to be crazy. Daniel Vance, primary and secondary genitalia. Yeah. You know what I mean? So good they did it twice. All right. I apologize, Mage.
No, that's fine. So we see as they're working with the orbs, first Rutherford's fantasy is revealed, and it's Dr. Leah Brahms from the TNG episodes. The first one where Geordi makes the holodeck version of her and falls in love, and then the second one where she comes to Enterprise and he meets her and she finds out about that and gets hella pissed off, rightly so.
Very pissed off.
Very
Geordi's
pissed
a
off.
creeper.
Oh man.
Yeah, you're not wrong. He wasn't being very cool that moment.
Well,
wait a minute, but hold on.
You had a holodeck. You had your
But
fantasies
the thing
are
is
fulfilled.
he created her. It's just like creating, like, you know, the Doctor as Zimmerman. Like he was taking all of the data that had been compiled for the Galaxy class starship and put. Now I get it, falling in love is creepy with a hologram. I get it. That's a little bit creepy. But like him having a program of her just to bounce off of all of the Galaxy class textbook information and everything with an, like, you know, with that interaction. I always felt like that episode was weird because, like, yes, the falling in love thing was weird, but just him having it was like, you know, I sometimes I need to reference, you know, the guide, and I do better when I'm, you know, interacting with the guide rather than just reading it in a manual. Like I always thought that was a little bit off, but anyway, that's a TNG episode, not Lower Decks.
No.
And by the way, the actress who played that character did the voice in Lower Decks.
Mm-hmm.
Cool.
She did reprise the role.
Yep.
So we see as they keep working more and more efficiently to try to one up the Carlsbad crew, we see Boimler's fantasy is being needed and promoted. Mariner's fantasy is apparently Jen, the Andorian that she's had tension with historically.
Oh yeah.
Yep. And so yeah.
So I just want to know because of this episode, when did Star Trek get so political? I mean, come on, like why are we promoting diversity in Star Trek? They've never done that before. Why?
Never ever. Definitely not in the
Diversity
very first episode.
Right?
Yeah.
Like why are we promoting same-sex relationships here? I mean, like we've never had diversity in Star Trek. Not my Trek. New Trek is garbage. I'm out.
So
I went the wrong way. My window's that way. I was gonna jump out my window because of how upset I was.
There was a person actually who I've come across who I remember I told you about it. He got really pissed off with Discovery because on one episode you had the leader of Earth who was a black woman, and then the next episode you had the leader of the Trill world who was also a black woman, and he got really pissed off that, you know, in consecutive episodes there were two black female characters who happened to be leaders of that planet, and he didn't like that. He thought it was too much. You know what I mean? And this guy calls himself a Star Trek fan. In fact, until he brought it up, I didn't even think about it. And
I didn't even. Yeah, I remember us talking about that. I'm like, wait a minute, I didn't even notice that. I'm like,
yeah,
why is that even a thing?
Why
does it matter?
Yeah, but unfortunately, there's people who think like this, and some of them are Star Trek fans, and the way people are going on about Star Trek being woke and all that shit, Star Trek has always been woke.
Yeah,
That's
seriously,
fucking
Trek
love it.
basically invented woke.
Yeah, we love Star Trek because it is fucking woke. It was ahead of its fucking time, and the people who complain about things being woke are people who want to take us back to a bygone era.
I got it, guys. I got it. We're making a T-shirt. We're gonna call it Star Twoke.
No, it doesn't. It sounded better in your head than it did coming out your mouth.
Star Twoke, come on!
No.
We'll workshop that. We'll workshop.
I'm sorry.
Yeah.
Back on the ship, we begin the whole Captain Freeman having a pissing contest with the captain of the Carlsbad, who is
Captain
a young.
Babyface.
Yes, he's a young up and comer and on the fast track to his own Galaxy class ship, and she feels very threatened by that. And he doesn't help matters, kind of, you know, pointing out that she's kind of older and been in the game longer, and they get in an argument over who's going to take the statue that's a gift from the Scrubble, a diplomatic token of peace. Back down on the planet, Stevens comes up and asks, our lower deckers why the hell they're, being so rushing so much with these sensitive and dangerous orbs. And Mariner deflects, saying that the Carlsbad ensigns were bad mouthing Ransom and said he didn't have a strong core. And this just sets Stevens off. He's got the strongest core in the fleet.
I forgot that he had a bit of a fucking neckbeard accent. So very briefly, Daniel Vance mentioned, imagine if our holodeck program was designed around every comment you ever made on the internet, dude. I'd be flooded. I'd be flooded. There'll be so much shit there. It'd be unreal. Karihu, so Mariner swings both ways, huh? Not as I mind, but this is interesting. She could, of course, be pan. What the fuck is pansexual again? I keep forgetting that one. Is that you can fuck it? That you fuck everything, including like maybe a letterbox? Is that pansexual?
You see a
Yeah, I mean,
No,
it's got a hole
I-
in it, so that's why I suggested. But yeah, that's interesting. But
Is
yeah,
it- I'm trying to remember what it. Hold on. Now I need to educate myself because I don't want to look like an asshole.
fine. You Google it, and I'll let you continue, Mage.
So Stevens gets really into trying to finish the task before them and show them up, and he ends up breaking one of the orbs, and a flying monster comes out, picks him up, and turns his arms to stone. He ends up falling down, and his arms break.
That
thought he
beautiful
was dead.
arm, she said.
I thought he genuinely. I genuinely thought that he was dead. I thought
Same.
I thought they killed off the character.
So the monsters start to include the clown Borg with batleth arms that we've seen on lower decks before when people's nightmares were being revealed. They don't point out which one of them is their nightmare, and I really want to know. Inquiring minds need to know whose particular fear is that. So
wasn't it just a mix up of all their data, which is why they came out the way they did, or I'm not sure.
At this point, it's still people's just limited to their fears and like greatest desires. At least what's manifesting, but we've seen those clown monsters before, those clown Borg with batleth arms.
I thought it was clown Klingons, and then there was a Borg snake.
Mm.
Was that a Borg
That's
snake? I couldn't tell.
It's
it
a
was like a
Borg,
Borg
definitely
snake,
a
and then it,
Borg
like,
snake.
It spit a basketball.
Yeah. Well, I mean, I knew it was a snake, but because I've never seen a Borg snake before, I really wasn't able to correlate the two. But I'm glad you told me that. Pansexuality, this is what we found out here at NerdTube, is sexual, romantic, or emotional attraction toward people, regardless of their sex or gender identity. So yeah, it's basically bisexual, isn't it?
Sounds like.
But
Like
you're
yours-
also
like-
into
like yours
non-binary
truly.
people.
Okay. Sex are not determined factors in their. I guess I'm pansexual, but I fucking don't know anymore. I'm just, if I find it attractive, and yeah.
No, whatever. Zam would just fuck a letterbox is what he would do.
Zam's greatest fantasy in his
Oh, man.
Sam's letterbox is a hot letter. What he is.
If it was a hot letterbox, you never know. Yeah, I mean, put a wig on it.
Yeah.
Cara says fair enough. And your best mates here, Ryan Jerleys, Cyborg Snick. Yes, it is.
That's a Borg
Yeah,
snake.
yeah, that's my first thought. what was it? They killed him off too. Yeah. The multiple colored flying snake is a oh my god, here's a mouthful.
Kukulukan.
Yeah,
Kukulukan.
from Star Trek, the
The animated
AF
series?
animated series. Thank you. Season
Uh-huh.
2. Well, there's only one season of the animated
Yeah, I thought
series.
there was only one season of the animated series.
Are you trolling us right now?
You know what? We would never know. Daniel Vance is that good. We would never know.
Yeah. I was going to pretend that I know everything by typing a whole bunch of shit.
Yeah, right.
Daniel Martin, I think the basketball was a piece of the mystery we've seen in Brotherhood's implants being put in by Section 31. No, that was to do with them talking about a basketball earlier, and it just spat it out, which made you realize that there was, soaking up information from them. But was
I
he
did think
right?
that though. I thought that before I realized it, I did think that it could have been something regarding the Section 31 stuff that they were doing with Rutherford.
I mean, they're going to have to address that at some point. So
I hope so.
I'm kind of I mean, if they don't, it'll be a big letdown, a big loose thread. But
would he write her after? And so one more thing, Daniel Vance, I thought how sharper than the Shepherd Tooth was when Spock and Kirk turned into underwater breathing humans. I can't even remember that.
Me neither.
Oh, there are two seasons. Oh, really? Okay, fair enough. I'll look into that.
I always thought there was only one, and I'm not gonna lie, I have not watched the animated series. I know I really should. I just haven't.
I'm sorry, mate. Let's continue, mate.
So they work after it's kind of explained. They figure out that they're more than just their fears and fantasies have been pulled out by these stones. They move further into this cave that they've retreated into, and they find a transceiver in the back of the cave, behind a door panel that's Federation style tech. We cut back to the ship, and a distraught Tindy who failed to get noticed or heard earlier when she had important information she was trying to give to the captain during the pissing match. She goes to Dr. Ta'ana, who I found it hilarious the way she's like, we're doing this, I guess.
Yeah.
And she reluctantly mentors Tindy and tells her that, yes, you are cut out for it, but you're going to have to screw up a lot to learn how to do it right. And that's a very good lesson, which is very true. Failure is the best teacher, and you're going to stumble some along the way.
This is I got take this. I'm dealing with this guy. This thing is. I don't want him to know that this thing's digesting his toes, and he's standing right there when he says that. And he. By the way, I had to watch it. I'm glad I watched it a second time, but I thought he was gonna just chop off that guy's leg without giving him a sedative. But she did. She did give him a sedative. But the guy was still awake and knowing that his leg was going to get chopped off regardless.
They grow it back.
They grow it back. So yeah. And Kara, who's actually said, actually my mistake. One thing the one I'm thinking of was the Ambergis incident. My bad. Sorry. Don't worry. You are way forgiven because I have no fucking idea. All right, let's rock and roll.
So back down on the planet, they fully realize that it's Federation tech in the transceiver room. They grab and these ensigns from the Carlsbad, it turns out they're actually impressed by our lower deckers, and they work together. They go out and fight off the monsters long enough to transport back to the Cerritos. We cut back to the ship, and the negotiations are going to hell because of the two captains arguing over who is going to keep this gift. And Mariners and the others return, and they come to the meeting room. Tindy shows up, and she breaks the thing and finally just tells them that there's it's actually been a plot the whole time. This thing has device inside that reads thoughts and sends it back to the transceiver on the planet. Mariner and the others explain what they discovered, and the whole plot's revealed. We cut to Captain Freeman's ending log, and it fills in all the gaps and explains fully what the plot was, and that these cooperating Federation scientists in Scrubble were going to sell the information they got on the black market to information brokers. And then we cut to a party. At the party, Stevens mentions the koala again when he was talking about his near-death experience while he was turned to stone. Dr. Miglamo once again makes things about himself when he kind of halfway compliments Tindy and congratulates her. But, while he's talking about being a mentor, we see Tindy looking at Dr. Ta'ana and indicating to us, the audience, that that's who she actually sees as her mentor. And rightly so. She only acts tenderly towards Tindy, but how could you not? She's so damn lovable. We cut again to the Carlsbad ensigns, and they're telling our lower deckers about all their exploits that they've heard about and how that they're California class famous. But one last thing, and one last really good gag, probably best gag of the episode. In all the stories about the, lower deckers, they said were accurate what they had been hearing about them in rumors, except in the stories, Boimler is a tiny comedic robot, and we and we get Boimler. Tell them I'm people.
Yeah.
And we end on that note, and we had a couple good gags this episode. We had character development for good or ill. It was there.
Mainly for Tindy.
Mainly for Tindy this episode. Everybody else kind of was themselves, still status quo by the end of the
Rutherford
episode.
had the smallest part of the episode, in my opinion.
He did. Kind of.
Which is fine, because not everyone. It's not everybody's day. Everyone has a day in the sun, and sometimes somebody just has to be a simple supporting role.
Yeah, and I was actually hoping for a Tindy episode this week. So it didn't disappoint me there. And all the stuff on the planet, I feel like the cold open was done well, setting up a mystery, and then, explaining it and cutting to this, the Cerritos situation. I overall enjoyed the episode, but maybe not one of my favorites. Cheeto, what were your overall thoughts?
Sorry.
Oh, sorry, Zam. Go ahead.
I just wanted. I wish Captain Freeman took the high ground and said, "All right, fine, I'll take the fucking stone," because the back and forth, it was like, like, even for a parody show, like, these guys still have, like, they're still representing Starfleet, so I just felt that somebody should have just taken the higher ground. But the way they went on about that stone was not even borderline childish; it was beyond childish.
Yeah, it was over the top, and
it was embarrassing for. Before they realized that those guys were con men, it was still embarrassing for Starfleet personnel to behave like that in front of people they do diplomacy with. So, I did not appreciate that. I'm going to get to all the comments, by the way, after we conclude.
Mm-hmm.
Is it my turn?
Yes, sir,
Yeah.
Cheeto. Give us your overall
So,
thoughts.
I mean, I kind of touched on it a little bit ago. As I said, I know it's a parody show, but at the same time, I agree with Zam about the diplomacy and the again, it's the diplomacy angle. It's like it's like that episode of Orville. The Orville would have been a near perfect season last season if it wasn't for that one episode, for me at least, when they went and they
lied to that civilization.
Yeah, they lied to the civilization that they said, "Oh, well, we're all ran by women as well, but we'll ease them into the truth." It's like, no, that's not how you do diplomacy, and it came and bit them in the ass, rightfully so, but at the same time, that's not how you conduct diplomacy. So actually, it's more unforgivable in Orville because it was taking itself seriously this season. Lower Decks, it gets a little bit of a pass. It was just more annoying that they kept on going back and forth, and it's like you should have gotten to the point very quickly. You know,
Yes, and
Can I,
everything else going on in the episode was the more interesting parts.
can
Yeah.
I just add though? But the thing with the Orville is that sometimes it's good to see people make the wrong decision and see how that pans out, if you know what I mean. Which is how I looked at it regarding them deciding to go down that particular route. That yeah, we're
It-
watching people do the stupid thing, do the wrong thing, and the repercussions from that.
It was a little far-fetched, though, that people that made it through the command training program at their academy and then more advanced training as they ranked up, I imagine they would have commander level certification tests like Starfleet's been established to
I
have. It's
agree.
far-fetched that they would make such a basic diplomatic blunder as to be deceitful, openly deceitful to somebody they're trying to open relations with.
My counter to that would be is that because they lost like very powerful allies, in the what's the name of Thingy's race,
the Mocklins.
the Mucklins and stuff like that, that they did what they did out of desperation. That was the only
And
yeah
in that situation, it's even more detrimental that you fail. You would think they
yeah
wouldn't take any risk
Yes,
making
I
that
think it's more
successful.
egregious that they did that. You know, like.
yeah I agree, but yeah
But we're not talking Orville. Sorry, I didn't mean to rabbit
yeah.
trail that. But
No. Anything else to add about this episode of Lower Decks, Cheeto?
not really. I mean, that was the Tindy stuff was okay. She got character development, which is good. As I said, I stand by my statements about it kind of being Simpsons. I just want it kind of to be shenanigans, like week after week, no explanation shenanigans. Like if it's not canon, it doesn't matter. It's just there to be a love letter to Trek and a love letter to the lore of Trek. It doesn't have to be, canon. And I kind of feel like they are trotting that line still, and I think that's eventually going to bite them in the ass. And as I said, the episode overall though was okay. I like the planet stuff the best. The stuff on the ship was not so good for me.
Yeah, agreed there. Zam, any other overall thoughts about the episode before we keep moving clockwise? And then Mark?
I mean, I probably might have something to say, but I can't think of it right now. But maybe Jim will trigger my mind and maybe.
Jim will trigger you, all right.
Yeah.
Commodore, what are your overall thoughts? Maybe we can jog Zam's memory.
Oh, it was funny. It was interesting. Then don't be afraid about your basketballs there for a while. I mean, rocks that read your minds and do fantasy. Like I said earlier, I wish I had one of those. I'll probably get in trouble too.
But then you'll turn into stone. We're gonna find a stone Commodore Boone somewhere.
That's a possibility. It'd be in stone, but that one guy, he was starting to turn in stone. He goes, "My beautiful hands."
Yeah. My beautiful.
Other than that, that's about it. I mean, yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
All
On
right,
to you, Zammy.
No problem. I just want to get to the comments very quickly. Okay, so we'll start with Kara. She said, "Yeah, we learn better from mistakes than triumphs." I think. Daniel Vaughn says, "I honestly thought I had it wrong. Incident sounded right after I read your comment." Kara responds, "Daniel Vaughn, I know incident sounds better, right? But it was the venom from the sea snake that could restore Kirk and Spock." God, getting down some rabbit hole here. So we see these orbs reading data while showing the crew their deepest, darkest fantasies. Yeah, we do. That sort of stuff has been done before, but the thing is that the thing with the fantasy thing, what they did, it didn't feel scientific. It felt more magical. Come to think of it, like how they're able to portray it didn't come across scientific at all. I can't see the Doctor without thinking the role was written for F. Murray Abraham, and he was cut from that role after all the recent incidents of other productions. I think of the Doctor as a female Bones, personally. I mean, she's a female Doctor. She's a female Leonard McCoy. That's how I look at her. She's a grouchy bitch, but with a heart. And Ryan Jelly says this has to be a joke on Disney milking people's fields with their tiny, cute robots. Yeah, but this is not Disney. Yeah.
Right, exactly. He's saying it's a dig on Disney.
Oh, I'm sorry. On joke. I'm sorry. I apologize. I misunderstood. Fair enough.
Following the Simpsons references, it's not Disney yet. Like the Simpsons.
And Disney have the Orville now, so what the fuck, man? Make a season 4. Cara Hughes, Paul Boimler, he never gets a break, does he? Yeah, that's why we love him. You know what I mean? Daniel Vines, wait till next season. Boimler pains about Come On have only just begun. Cara Hughes, I really like this one. Apart from, as you said, Captain Freeman, she seemed a little petty, and that to me wasn't Starfleet. I agree. I would have liked to have just taken the high ground, even though it would have ended up her giving away all the secrets and stuff like that. But sadly, with live action Boimler and Mariner coming to Strange New Worlds, I think the chances of this being non-canon have sailed. Yeah, I agree. I do agree.
But I'm gonna, as I said, I've never said it's not. I just don't think it should be. I'm gonna be like Daniel Vance and Rev Jake, and talk about how the Incredible Hulk's not canon. Lower Decks is not canon.
Yeah, I don't care what evidence you show me until I get Liv Tyler. Yeah, then I'll think it's canon. Like, you might never get fucking Liv Tyler. It still doesn't mean it's not fucking canon, but regardless of it. Yeah, I mean, so
I know I'm just kicking and screaming.
Do you think they're trying a bit too hard?
Me?
A bit too hard? No,
regardless. At you.
Yeah, at Cousin Chicho. Do you think they're trying a bit too hard?
Too hard to be canon? No, and that's why I think it shouldn't be canon. And I feel like they need to lean a little bit the opposite way. As I said, the show should be just shenanigans, unfiltered, uncontrolled shenanigans, and it just doesn't. It shouldn't really affect the prime timeline at all. Just because they can have the shenanigans, they can have the jokes, they can have the fun. Actually, you know what? With a trailer that just came out today, which we're probably gonna do record a video for after this, there is an issue between Lower Decks now and Picard season 3. I'm not gonna reveal it here, but there is an issue now.
Yeah.
So that's why I'm saying, like, Lower Decks maybe just shouldn't be canon. I'm just saying.
Regarding them playing it too hard, some of the stuff that they've actually, like the references and the characters they brought back from the past, like that fucking oil monster, which they made fun of in season 1, and they've obviously brought back Q and what's her face today, Geordie's fucking love interest, and all of that. Like these are concrete things in Star Trek, and it just makes it very difficult not to see it as canon, but it's so bizarre at the same time. It's hard to. Anyway, I can go on a lot about this. Cara Hughes says I preferred the planet side activities over the shipboard ones too. Yeah, likewise.
Same here.
Hey, Mumble Pie. Yeah, and that's the good thing. That's why I respect people who can admit they're wrong, because I admit when I'm wrong. Even I got a friend of ours of mine in Cheetos, and Mike knows him as well. His name is Daniel Block, and he admits when he's wrong. That's one of the reasons why I like talking to him about politics and stuff. Cara Hughes, Daniel Block saved me a slice. Fancy getting those two TSS episodes mixed up. Fair enough. Okay, so is it ranking time?
I believe so.
Ranking time.
Sorry. Power
Get 'em
Rangers.
warmed up.
Bell plant.
Sausages are ready.
We need to.
Oh yeah, the sausages are ready.
We need
What's
to,
the number?
to come up with some sort of like intermission, like where we go ranking time and like everyone just like high fives and shit and goes woo 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 like we're on the Jerry Springer show.
No.
Okay, I'll go first.
Okay.
7.
Okay.
7 out
Cheeto,
of 10.
how about you, Cheeto?
6.
Okay. Commodore?
Well, it had comedy in it and had interesting stuff in it, like it keeps saying. Let's see. Let's get the hands warmed up here. What's going to land on? How about 8?
Mate, fair enough.
Okay.
Daniel Vance has given
There
it
you
a
go.
4 out of 10. Cara, I'd like
4.
to know what you think
Wow.
as well.
4.
Daniel Vance is becoming like the Ginger Greek
Daniel.
of science fiction. Yeah, I mean, you're becoming a lot more like Ginger Greek than you realize, Daniel. And he he gets pissed off with Ginger. He makes fun of him all the time. And then you know what I mean?
Four out of
You and
10.
Ginger Leak, we're not so different, you and I. Anyway.
And I'll give it a 7 as well. Too many things that were aggravating or just glossed over or not as good as the rest of the episode to give it anything higher than that.
Like for me, don't get me wrong. There's a lot of things that upset you guys with it. The only thing that upset me was the Freeman thing regarding the stone and then passing it back and forth from each other. Other than that, nothing bothered me at all. I've just seen funnier episodes, you know. And we're only 3 episodes in, and only 1 episode so far has really satisfied me, which was the second one. The first one obviously was a continuation of the cliffhanger from season 2. But this episode itself was funny, but it didn't have me splitting my sides. You know?
Mm-hmm. It's without the shenanigans like the early days and it starting to take itself more seriously and have the character development. I mean, the humor is a different brand now, and I'm not sure
To the
it's
letterbox.
the same.
Yeah, that letterbox, I can't wait for it, man. I'm fucking getting really horny for it. You're gonna give us a ranking as well, Ryan? Ranking. Oh well, I'll just
9 out of 10.
9 out of 10. I like
Cool.
the Tendy. Yeah, Tendy. Yeah, I like Tendy a lot.
Oh, I
Yeah.
like Tendy too. I think
Best
she's
thing
great.
happening on the ship this episode, but the planet side action was where it was at.
Mm-hmm. I agree.
Too many plot lines tripping over one another. Felt muddled.
I see that. I can agree with that.
But did it feel Harry muddled?
Yeah.
Hardcore
Harry
muddled.
Harry Mudd.
Good old Harry Mudd.
Where's Harry Mudd? I don't see him. Where's he at?
You could play a good Harry Mudd, actually, Jim. I can see that in the future. Or we can go diverse, and I could play Harry Mudd.
You know what? I
don't
know why you guys think that. I don't know when Trek started getting like woke and like, you know, race swapping and gender swapping and
and species swapping
and species swap. Yeah, Spock's now a Klingon. What's going on around here?
Yeah, and fucking Catherine Janeway's this fucking alien creature that mated with fucking Tom Paris. You know,
and abandoned their babies
that's
on
canon.
the lizard planet.
Yeah.
Yeah.
There's a whole population of evolved human salamanders out there now.
Well, your mate, he's now my best mate now. Ryan's giving it a 6. I'm going to disclaim him. You're my best mate now, Ryan. Very good. Giving it a bit weak, I guess. 6 out of 10. Fair enough.
It was weak. It just the humor's not hitting the same. Well, I want to thank you all our viewers and especially people that joined us in the chat. Having you makes us. Oh, one more.
I just want to add regarding what's going to be coming up in the future on this channel. We are going to, as soon as we finish here, we are going to do some recordings of some of the stuff that came out for Star Trek Day. Tomorrow we're going to be talking about She-Hulk episode 4. Can't wait to talk about that. We are going to briefly talk about Twerkgate before we start talking about the episode as well, because my God, I've never seen so many people lose their shit over ass. Usually the shit comes out your ass, but they're losing their shit over the shaking of it, which is absolutely fucking ridiculous. And this Saturday, not only will we be talking about the next episode of Lord of the Rings, but we'll be doing some Assassin's Creed stuff as well, because some Assassin's Creed will be coming out. Some information to be like a live stream or something like that from Ubisoft. So keep an eye out on that. Only on the greatest channel you never heard of, NerdTube.
So if any of that sounds like it's up your alley, make sure to give us a like, hit the subscribe button and the bell icon. Want to thank you all for being here. See you tomorrow, Daniel Vance. Glad you'll be making it. Sam as Harry Mudd. Let's make it so from Cara Hughes. Definitely.
Yeah.
I want to make it so too.
Wong is plot armor. Well, yeah, exactly. Yeah.
By the way,
It
I have
really
not
was.
seen She-Hulk yet, so la 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 la.
I'm sorry.
That's okay. Just no spoilers. I'm watching it probably right as soon as I get off of here. Well,
Okay, fair
and we
enough.
get done with our stuff.
Yeah, so we want to see you guys tomorrow, including you, Ryan. I know you're Major's mate and you won't be on tomorrow. I'm not sure if you will be with us for tomorrow for She-Hulk, but I will be there and I'm your mate now. So fucking join us.
We're all twerking at the end of the show tomorrow.
Oh, yeah, yeah. You're going to see my 45-year-old ass fucking up and down, cheeks open, chocolate starfish, the fucking lot.
Now I have to get caught up so I can show off and upstage you guys.
Uh-oh.
Yeah.
Well, thank you, all of you in the audience. It was great having you in chat. Thank you to my co-hosts, Cousin Cheeto, Zam, and Commodore Boone. Appreciate having you guys here tonight to talk about Lower Decks. It was a blast as always. Good evening to you from NerdTube, the greatest channel that you've never kind of maybe sort of heard of.
Happy Star
Have a
Trek
good night.
Day!
Take care.